If Maria supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
The blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
The blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Grimerica. Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. Coming at you with some new gear. And see if you guys notice the difference. And we're coming at you with Dan Harari, like Ferrari, this week on the show. It was a good show. It was a fun one. We got everybody's favorite podcaster, Grandma Ding Ding Dung 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 Dung.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, let us know if it sounds different. We got some new gear. We had my mixer crapped out. And I was looking for something with less interfaces and less connections and less buzzing. And this, I think, we're using StreamYard now and new mixers, and it should be much better. I think, and it just feels better. My computer's running better. Everything is better. And this is an interesting chat with a longtime UFO researcher and a Hollywood celeb publicist. Really interesting. He's got a book about benevolent ETs coming to Earth to help us and save us.
Really?
Good story, yeah.
That never happens.
Well, I know, but this is why we got to start talking about it.
There you have it. So what have you been up to? You went out.
I know. I met some friends. Had a great time. Met some friends. I've been, doing lots of stuff, lots of work, working on some books, working on an amazing book.
What'd you do? I'm more interested in you leaving the house.
Well, I know. I don't want to. I went out for dinner with a bunch of friends. It was great.
You would eat.
Like some of the CE5 crowd and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, did you go CE5?
No. We just went out for dinner. Yeah.
Oh, too bad.
It was fun.
It's all about CE5 season.
Yeah, it's coming up. I might have to try again or something. Maybe you and Shauna should come out and we'll get everybody together. We should do that.
I'm smoking weed though.
Well, just do it on your way there.
No, whenever I want. I don't understand how I smoke weed.
You're pretty subtle anyways when you do it, so that's fine.
Nobody knows.
Well, we'll just make sure. I'll just make sure that that's a caveat, and I'll say, look, it's just gonna,
Nobody knows what we're up to, what I'm up to. So,
there's some interesting things because one of her channeler friends that we actually were going to have on the show. I can't remember if we did or not. The one that does the fire the grid thing.
Yeah.
Shelly Yates, I think is her name. What's her name? No, maybe not Shelly Yates. I can't remember.
Is there something beeping over there?
She came. Well, yeah, that's my phone. Why? Can you hear that through my mic?
Yes.
That's not. Maybe we need to redo the gate on this
If
thing.
you're talking, the gate doesn't work.
All right. Okay.
But that's okay.
So,
go ahead.
Anyways, she mentions like she got communications that there was going to be a fake invasion. And she's like, what's all this about a fake invasion? She had never really heard of Project Bluebeam. Similar to our guest here, Dan Harari. I think he didn't hear me right. I'm pretty sure he's probably heard of it. But I want to talk a little bit about Bluebeam in this intro. In our lazy ramblings, you can always fast forward to the interview with Dan. It's a little bit, probably like a half hour down the line. We'll get rid of some housekeeping issues here and beg for your support. And I'm going to talk about Bluebeam a bit.
I mean, we did we just bought almost $2,000 worth of stuff. It was like $950 per house for the good.
We had to buy something, so we thought we'll do that, eh?
We had to do something. It was time to upgrade. There was a buzz on this side I couldn't quite find. I just had so many cords running everywhere. And Graham needed an upgrade, literally, because his mixer was on the verge of crapping out. It had a buzz that was kind of creeping in and out and getting worse.
Well, and then it stopped working altogether. I mean, it's how weird is it that I showed you what I wanted to get for the future? This is one of those weird things that happens. I truly think it's a manifest thing, just like other examples. But as soon as I say that and show you what I want in the future, like what my long-term plan is for like a mixer type thing for what I do with the books and the shows, the thing stops working. Our original one stops working. Like we had it fixed. We had the compressor connected. We had it fixed. And then all of a sudden it craps out. So I'm like, well, guess we got to make a decision.
Well, we've had that mixer for a long time. That was the first like thing we bought.
Yeah, it's that one that I was using was 9 years old, probably.
Yeah, it was $650 when we bought it because it had the interface. And anyway, now we're back. This thing didn't exist when we started podcasting. I think the first one just came out in like 2018 and the second one just came out. This is the one that Adam Curry quit trying to make his thing when it came out because it just does everything you could
possibly need it to
do.
It's not a click of a button. I can change it to whoever. So
it's great for Graham doing his stuff. It's perfect for me. I don't have a bunch of gear in them, and all the buzz is gone. We'd be interested to know if you guys hear a difference in the audio. So it's going to help Graham do some books. Anyway, all that stuff we do around here, because it's not free. It takes our time. It takes our dollars. It takes a ton of things to keep this show going every week for going on 10 years now. We're only a couple months away from our 10-year anniversary. So it's important, you guys, more important than ever, grimerica.ca/support. If you can, head over there, sign up for monthly or make a one-time donation or whatever you can do to help keep the show afloat. If you want to see the show keep going in its current form, we can't do it without people like you stepping up and supporting it so we can keep going. So grimerica.ca/support, guys, if you can, when you can. Of course, the other thing we're going to tell you is we've been considering maybe doing video again. So, I mean, let us know. That's like more money. It'd be like right now we're doing StreamYard on the plan. That's already like $25 a month. If we want to do 1080, which we would need to do if we want to start doing video on a serious, not like serious, but we have these presentations from time to time. And, we're just considering it. We're considering going live on something. We have a bunch of people that are doing pretty well on YouTube these days, and it might be fun to go live on Rumble. Rumble's getting more popular. So, that's like, then the payment goes to $60 a month or something like that instead of 25. So all that stuff, just everything costs a fortune.
And time. And it's a bit more time to do that too. And I guess, that's the thing. Some guests do want to they have presentations, they have visual stuff. And although this is mainly an audio podcast, I mean, Rumble is doing pretty good now, and we're putting our stuff on Rumble now anyways. So the question is, do we go live every once in a while too? Do we do that? It seems to be helping some people. The guests seem to like it, I think. Maybe we do it now and then. But I mean, and this isn't a YouTube thing. This isn't about necessarily going on YouTube because our main channel is one strike away from being deleted. It seems perpetually, but right now for sure it is. So, I mean, we might lose that whole thing. We've got like 800 videos on there or something over 9 years or 8 years or something like that.
Are they all downloaded?
Put some effort into cleaning that up and trying to get it going just while it's there, just for algos, basically. Because it is good marketing for the show, too. It's reachability and all that, which the audio podcast doesn't seem to have that same kind of thing. So we're going to use that as long as we can anyways. So do we just... do that now and then, do that every time.
Either way, we need your support. Grimerica.ca/support.
And feedback. What do you think? I know my mom likes the talking heads. She's like, well, you guys, I miss seeing you guys in the studio.
Wow, that's sweet. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
GrimericaOutlaw.ca. We do have that whole other show. If you guys want to check that out, we've been having some good shows over there lately. And we do a little audiobook thing here every week as well, where you get a chapter of an audiobook. So check that out. If you just type Grimerica Outlawed into your pod player, it will pop up. Some people still seem to be confused by the fact that it is a whole new podcast. So
whole separate website, whole separate feed, whole separate support infrastructure.
That's right. So check that out, GrimericaOutlaw.ca. And we are selling some gear. I mean, I think your mic's already sold. I think Brian bought it. Brian in Australia.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, actually.
And the one recorder we sold to our buddy in BC. I'm mailing that out tomorrow. So if anyone else, we have like another recorder, mixer.
So when you say recorder, you mean Tascam?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, if you say it like that, we have two of our old recorders. We have the Tascam that we used before we went to the HN6. So we have one HN6 left that's missing the battery cover. And we have the mixer that we've been using for the last few years that does still work perfectly well. And there was something else. Just compressors and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, your stack, right? Don't you have your stack too? Your mixer? Are you selling your mixer too?
Yeah, the mixer, the EQ, the compressor, and the preamp. So if that's something you're interested in, a little nostalgia, spamgram, let them know. You would have to cover the shipping, of course. But other than that, I mean, the recorder is the big one that someone might want. This is the one that we probably recorded the last like 400 shows on. 300 for sure. And before that would be the Tascam. So it's basically like the whole recording history of the show on those two devices. So let us know. Spamgram if you're interested. I'm selling them. We need them out of here. So
that's Graham at Grimericans.com.
That's right. So what do you got? Do you have any? I'm curious to try this thing because it's supposed to be my new Bluetooth jingle board here with these new fancy faders. I want to play a jingle. What do you got for me?
Yeah, well, I want to do like we have to talk about Bluebeam. So I want to do a project operation.
All right, let's try. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
What's that noise?
Looks military to me. Definitely military. Probably classified too.
Dish fire. Prism. Sentry Eagle. Sigma. Mannequin. Artichoke. MK Ultra. Operation Project.
I can even hear it this time. That's great. Usually I can't hear that.
Really?
Yeah, this is fantastic so far.
Everything's coming up, Graham.
So, I mean, so here, this is like, it's pretty interesting, pretty deep. So I was thinking about reading some of the stuff from the wikis, and then I've got like a timeline that somebody put together who used to have their site used to be like Bluebeam News. Now it's the title of the site has changed, but a lot of research into that. And then I've got a tiny clip to play from an ex-FBI, like basically like Fox Mulder, the real Fox Mulder of the FBI, about it. And he kind of changed my view a little bit about what this might look like. But this is from like Rational Wiki, right? So I guess this would be like the skeptical wiki thing. And they're talking about Project Bluebeam being a conspiracy theory which claims that NASA is attempting to implement a new age religion with the Antichrist at its head and start a new world order via a technically simulated second coming. So did you know that this started, like, I don't know why this guy's name is popping up all the time now, but I'm not sure if I noticed this. The allegations were presented in 94 by a Quebecois journalist and conspiracy theorist named Sergei Monast. You ever heard of that? Did you know about that?
Quebecois, huh?
He published his book called Project Bluebeam.
Come on.
And then he did, well, okay, I'll mute it. Jeez, I'm just not used to this coming through like this. What's going on? Like,
you're just not used to just doing us the courtesy of shutting your ringer off for the podcast.
Well, I've got my phone open here. And normally it's not there, but because I'm going to play a clip through it. So
got it. At least it's not coming through the Bluetooth.
Yeah, exactly. Why is that, I wonder?
It probably just knows to distinguish between an audio and a phone function.
Okay. So the proponents of this theory allege that Monast and another unnamed journalist who both died of heart attacks in 96 were in fact assassinated. And the Canadian government kidnapped Monast's daughter in an effort to dissuade him from investigating Project Bluebeam. So this gets into quite a bit of stuff, but it talks about the theory here, and it talks about the steps. There's 4 steps to it. So step 1 requires the breakdown of archaeological knowledge. This will be accomplished by faking earthquakes, fake new discoveries. Yeah, interesting. specifically Christian and Muslim doctrines. And then step 2 is a gigantic space show wherein three-dimensional holographic laser projections will be beamed all over the planet. And this is where a blue beam really takes off. The projections will take the shape of whatever deity is the most predominant and will speak in all languages. At the end of the light show, the gods will all merge into one god, the Antichrist. Step 3 is the telepathic electronic two-way communication that involves people making people think that their God is speaking to them through telepathy, projected into the head of each person individually using extremely low frequency radio waves. I'm totally abbreviating all this. And then step 4 is 3 parts. It says, make humanity think that an alien invasion is about to occur in every major city. Number 2, making the Christians think that the rapture is about to happen. And number 3, a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, power and telephone cables, coax, to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances that will then all have a special microchip installed. So this Monas guy thought of the New World Order. This is what he thought of the New World Order. All people will be required to take an oath to Lucifer with a ritual initiation to enter the New World Order. Resistors will be categorized as follows. Christian children will be kept for human sacrifice or sexual slaves, prisoners to be used in medical experiments, prisoners to be used as living organ banks. So this is going back to 94. So 30 years? 30 years now. 29 years. Healthy workers to slave labor camps, uncertain prisoners in the International Re-Education Center, thence to repent on television and learn to glorify the New World Order. So basically like struggle sessions. The International Execution Center, and as yet unknown 7th classification. So they get into like the start of this theory apparently was like Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek. They were going to do a feature film about it, and his purposed story told of a flying saucer hovering above Earth that was programmed to send down people who looked like prophets, including Jesus Christ. And all the steps of the conspiracy theory were in the unmade mid-70s Star Trek film, the script by Roddenberry, which were recycled for the Star Trek Next Generation episode Devil's Due, which was broadcast in 91. Kind of interesting, eh?
Absolutely.
So then I looked up the Wikipedia of Surge, like the blue beam, and it directly links to this Monas guy. He was a Canadian investigative journalist, poet, essayist, and conspiracy theorist. And he says it was an alleged plot to facilitate a totalitarian world government by destroying traditional religions and replacing them with a new age belief system using NASA technology. I mean, it doesn't sound too crazy 29 years later.
Bum, 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 bum.
He was an active member of the Social Credit Party of Canada.
What?
Yeah.
When did this exist?
In the, in the 70s and 80s. I mean,
they were talking about social credit in the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, maybe it was in a different context.
Holy shit.
So in the early 90s,
how they would track it.
What?
I wonder how they would track that.
Well, it's not that type of like. It's probably more about socialism and social credit. It's just another word for socialism, probably back then. In the early 90s, he started writing on the theme of the New World Order and conspiracies hatched by secret societies. So this is where it gets a little close to home as well. You're going to like this. Being particularly inspired by the works of William Guy Carr. So I don't want to repeat too much, but there might be some repetitive stuff here. But he also published his most detailed work about the protocols of Toronto, modeled upon the protocols of the elders of you-know-who, wherein he said a Masonic group called 666 had for 20 years been gathering the world's powerful to establish a new world order and control the minds of individuals. So he said he was being hunted by the police and authorities for involvement in networks of prohibited information. So which he had homeschooled his 2 children, and they were taken away and made wards of the state in September 96. And so again, this is from Wikipedia. So take it from a grain of salt. It's probably been sort of cleansed and
With a grain
maybe,
of salt.
you know what?
Take it with a grain of salt.
Well, yeah, that's what I think, but
You said take it from a grain of salt.
no, I didn't, did I?
Yeah, you sure did.
Oh my God.
You're one of them. That's your ball of corn
Quarters of my ball are the
for all intensive purposes.
take it from a grain of salt. That's gonna be the new one. So his followers claim obviously that like his death was suspicious, suggesting he was assassinated by psychotronic weapons to keep from continuing his investigations. So even Jerry Fletcher, the Mel Gibson character in 97 film Conspiracy Theory, was modeled on him. Maybe we should watch that again. See how how prevalent that is, or how portentous that is. So when I go to William Guy Carr, this gets interesting. Cause he was living in the early 1900s. He was described as the most influential source in creating the American Illuminati demonology, according to American folklorist Bill Ellis. So in the 50s, he was the leader of the Anti-Communist National Federation of Christian Laymen of Toronto. He was also one of the presidents of the Naval Club in Toronto. But it gets into he was a political activist. This is where it gets really interesting. So in 1931, he started giving conferences in different Canadian clubs on the topic of international conspiracy, which was subdivided into 2 main subjects, international communism and international capitalism, stating that both were being controlled by the Illuminati and what he called the international bankers. So this is 1931. Don't forget. The last
international banking was kind of code, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's where it's going. So that's where that's where it's going. So it was mainly represented by Rothschilds and Rockefellers back then. So he retired from the Navy and he turned his
actually maybe not Rockefeller. I don't know that. I don't know his.
This is why we gotta treat it with from a grain of salt.
For retards.
His writings turned essentially to conspiracy themes from a firmly Christian standpoint, and according to Political Research Associates, a group studying right-wing extremism, Carr promoted anti-bleep variant of conspiracism with books such as Pawns in the Game and Red Fog Over America. He believes in an age-old Illuminati banking conspiracy used radio-transmitted mind control on behalf of Lucifer to construct one world government. The secret nexus of the plot was supposedly the International Bilderberger meetings on banking policy. So his works were influenced by the writings of Nesta Webster and John Robison. And
Robeson, we had him on the show.
We have audiobooks of Nesta and John on adultbrain.ca. So their main works are on what?
They must both be dead.
Yeah. This is going way back to the early 1900s still. So they're saying that his works were influenced by Nesta and John, and we have books on them both. Nesta's book is on they're both on adultbrain.ca or Audible actually. And they both explain the French Revolution as a plot by Freemasonry and linked to the German Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt, and who is frequently associated to the conspiracy theory of the New World Order.
The NWO.
Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting to hear that going back that far, really.
I prefer the NWA.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to just I'm going to read quickly this timeline that was put together from this guy. He says, this is kind of getting more into the UFO aspect, because that is just sort of saying, the Canadian conspiracy theory sort of history. But below is a chronological breakdown of all the fact-checked information supporting Project Bluebeam theory over the past century. So it doesn't contain speculation, numerological, or symbolical observations, and sticks as closely as what we know. So it's coming right from the military and governmental sources, Wikipedia, all that stuff. For those who don't know, in a nutshell, Project Bluebeam is the theory that the powers that be are planning to fake an alien invasion in the coming years with an intention to bring the world's nations together to fight against a common cause. The ultimate objective being to usher in a new world order. So the only entry made is so he does speculate about when Bluebeam was started, but he talks about 47 Roswell, 47 Project Blue Book, 53 classified CIA document, Walter B. Smith's about how UFOs could be used as psychological warfare. So that goes back to 53. In 55, Area 51 is built. In 69, Project Blue Book is terminated. And then in 70, he's got here Project Bluebeam is possibly started. So there's no real evidence there. 75, the U.S. military intelligence serviceman Gene Roddenberry writes that script for Star Trek. In 77, German and American aerospace engineer von Braun spends last few months of his life with cancer explaining to Carol Rosen that an alien card is going to be played by the government. 87, Reagan explains at the UN meeting, I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from the outside world, from outside this world. 91, Bush Sr. gives a speech where he states, what is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in a common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind, peace and security, freedom and the rule of law. Out of these humble times, our fifth objective, the new world order, can emerge. So that's interesting. 91, William Cooper releases Behold a Pale Horse.
World order. William Cooper, Bill Cooper.
Yeah. Behold a Pale Horse, which has a section that reads,
can
you imagine what will happen if, what's that?
Remember the audiobook?
I've got it, yeah.
Is it self-narrated?
I don't know.
It's like, wow, it's so much.
Oh, it wasn't good?
Oh, no, it was hard. Yeah, it was hard. Maybe if you put it on like 1 1/4, it might liven up a bit. But it's hard without the like, I don't know, the like just oscillations and pitch.
Mm-hmm. So he mentioned in his book, can you imagine what will happen if Los Angeles is hit with a quake, New York City is destroyed in a terrorist planted atomic bomb, World War III breaks out in the Middle East, the banks and the stock markets collapse, ETs land on the White House lawn, food disappears from the markets, some people disappear, and the Messiah presents himself to the world. In 91, Janet Morris, who has worked as a consultant to the Defense Department, she publishes numerous white papers detailing this non-lethal war doctrine proposals. And then the Canadian journalist in 94, that's the Monash thing, releases the book Project Bluebeam, explaining the theory and how it ultimately ends in a fake alien invasion, which will be used to usher in the New World Order. And he gave a couple lectures on the topics. And then 96, they arrest him for homeschooling his children and take his daughter away. Then Bill Cooper dies in a shootout with Apache County sheriffs after evading arrest warrant for 3 years. And then 2004, approximately Janet Morris, who has worked on the non-lethal weapon holograms, appears on British TV talking in depth about how the holograms could be used to project Jesus, the devil, or UFOs in the sky. 2004 is also the last record of her saying having any employment within government agencies. And then 2009, Carol Rosen gives speech at the UFO Disclosure Project explaining her conversations with von Braun. And then 2020 to 2022, the MSM starts to report on multiple UFO sightings. The government start to admit the existence of UFOs and the true extent of reported sightings. UFOs are renamed UAPs. Netflix releases multiple UFO documentaries. Joe Rogan has ex-servicemen on his podcast admitting they've seen UAPs in American airspace, and ex-President Obama admits on live TV that UFOs exist. And then it goes on to Harvard scientist Robert Duncan talks about Project Bluebeam on the Concrete podcast, which has been since removed from YouTube. And then this gets real close. February 2023, a surveillance balloon shot down, and we all know about the 3 UFOs shot down in the same locations the balloon passed through in the space of 3 days. New reports now say that the balloon was heading in the direction of Hawaii, where a huge wall of green lasers was seen on the same day that the balloon was spotted. Nobody talks about that anymore. Do you remember that? The Chinese laser?
Spy balloon? The Chinese spy balloon?
The wall of green lasers on the same day.
I never heard about the wall of green lasers.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it, and they were admitting it in the mainstream media. On one hand, they're saying like Marjorie Taylor Greene's talking about lasers from China, and she's a kook, and then they all say, "Oh, there's a wall of green lasers over Hawaii," and it's just nobody mentions it after that, and that was in the mainstream papers. And then he goes on to say that the 3 UFOs were all originally reported as cylindrical in the size of a car, not balloons, except the Canadian guy who did admit they were a balloon. 5 trains derailed, 3 cell companies down. So he gets into all the latest, like electricity stuff. 8 countries pulled their ambassadors out of Turkey 24 hours before. Oh, this is interesting. 8 countries pull out all their ambassadors out of Turkey 24 hours before a giant earthquake hits. Huge 5-acre warehouse fire in Florida. Blackhawk crashes in Alabama.
Are you just reading the headlines now?
No, it's just his summary of that. Yeah. So yeah, now just a couple seconds of this guy talking. This is John D'Souza, who's an ex-FBI guy, talking about
play clip. Look out.
However, the way that we know they're not true UFOs. True UFOs can be extraterrestrial and extra dimensional. In other words, they are usually, they have capacity for shape shifting. They have a capacity for disappearing and reappearing. That is one of the ways that we know genuine UFOs are afoot. We're able to see those qualities in them. These Tic Tacs, these UAPs don't have those abilities. However, I do believe that they have the ability to destroy things, and that's why they're being built up. They are not. They are man-made, but they appear not to be made by the United States per se. We do have a congressman recently. I don't want to get summoned before any subcommittees, so I won't say his name, but we have a congressman from, I think he was from Indiana, who ran around. He was running around to
just say where he's from.
And one of the things that he said was, these things appear to be man-made. And this is after several classified briefings that the subcommittees think nobody finds anything out about. He said, it appears that these vehicles are man-made. Indeed, they are, but they're not made by the United States. They appear not to be made by Russia or China. However, it does appear that our global aerospace companies probably had several hands in creating these things. And he's talking about McDonnell Douglas, Raytheon, and several other companies that really don't consider themselves American. They're actually global companies. And he said, it looks like those guys had some kind of hand in creating these UAPs, but it appears they are not under the control of the United States or any other nation. And that's all he said. And it was amazing when he said that, because it really leads to several other conclusions that, well, then who's controlling them? And it appears that the ones who are controlling them are the deep state, which is not an American organization. The deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, the power that is over nations appears to be controlling.
He almost said Illuminati.
And that fits in perfectly with them eventually building up this campaign of fear in the nations, which is what they're doing right now.
All right, I'll stop it there. But I mean, it gets interesting because he talks about a different type of blue beam. Like, it's not like you're going to see holograms in the sky and UFOs over every city. They'll just destroy a bunch of things, like even cities, with who knows what. I mean, whether it's EMPs or something, and then they'll just blame it on UFOs. So I think he's talking more of like a traditional sort of false flag type thing. Blame it on ETs and UFOs.
All right, guys, support the show. It's important. Do you have a bio for Mr. Dan Harari like Ferrari?
Oh yeah, let me pull it up. Give me a sec. I forgot to pull it up.
Hurry up, Dunlop.
I can't wait to hear your first book with voices. Can we hear your girl voice? Do you have a girl voice yet?
No, I don't. No.
Oh my.
So let me just sorry I wasn't prepared with this.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's a long one. So I'm just going to skip through. This is from danharariauthor.com. And also there's going to be a link to his book in the show notes. He's been a senior publicist. He's been a publicist since the 80s. He's been a publicist for Hollywood. He's got a book out about celebrities too. He's brushed shoulders with almost every celebrity. American Film Institute, Playboy Models, the Playboy Channel, where he handled all the PR and program information. He worked in the American Film Institute as campus information director. I'm just skipping through some of the stuff here. Art director, science degree in communications. And he's also been interested in UFOs because he's had a couple of amazing sightings. Let me just check the latest part here. He's been a speaker and a panelist across LA on the topic of entertainment, PR, appearing in events and the Publicist Guild, the Marymount University, Promax, BDA, and the Entertainment Publicist Professional Society. But now I guess he's writing for his love about UFOs. So there you have it.
BDA sounds kinky. Nice vocal fry. Speaking of events, contact@thecabin.com, baby. We got that Utah 420 trip coming in. You can still get in on that. That's under a month away now. If you want to come join us, we're going to have a fucking time up there with Dave Matheson, Brandon Powell. Looks like, what's the other fellow's name? I forget. Another Brandon, right?
Yep. Brandon Thomas from Expanded Reality is going to be there. Another special guest.
And Ksenia. So we're going to have a blast up there in the mountains. Sean and I going down. Graham, of course. I don't know if Maria's going or not. I don't know how you guys are getting there, but we're going to have a fucking time in Utah either way, and we would love to have you guys there. We can't do without you guys. Contact@thecabin.com. Other than that, enjoy this fabulous chat with the one and only Dan Harari.
Dan Harari, thanks for joining us on Grimerica. How's it going?
Great. Thank you very much for having me. It's an exciting time for me.
Yeah. You've been looking into this stuff for decades, and now it's really happening, it seems.
Yeah, I've been researching UFO history and all of these questions of the universe really for the last, I'd say 20 years, seriously. But I just wrote a book that just came out March 1st. It's called After They Came. And my premise, most of the movies and things that we see, War of the Worlds, Independence Day, the aliens are coming to, kill us or eat us. There was a famous Twilight Zone episode, I don't know if you remember, but it was called To Serve Man.
Yes.
Remember that one?
Yep.
And they think that the aliens are benevolent, and at the end they go, don't go on the ship, it's a cookbook. to serve man. I remember I was a child when I saw that episode.
Yeah, not serve as in service, serve as in to serve for dinner. Yeah.
Put in a pot of hot water. So my book presents the premise: what if benevolent aliens come to Earth in the near future and simply come to help us and solve our problems? And the backstory is this book really was birthed by a number of things. My dad passed away in 2017. My father worked for the U.S. Army for 45 years at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and he was an electronics engineer. Top secret work. He never told anyone what he did ever, including my mother, who's still alive. And Graham, the interesting thing is the following story. In 1970, my dad picked me up from school about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, driving me home in New Jersey, suburban neighborhood, bright, sun, daylight. And as I'm in the car, this enormous silver V, letter V like Victor, craft, silver V, was hovering over our car and just stopped above our neighborhood. So I'm in the passenger seat and I go, Dad, stop the car, stop. Oh my God, stop the car. A UFO. I'm 14 years old. So my father stops the car. We pull off. We get out of our doors of the car. We look up and I'm jumping up and down like a lunatic because it was like seeing one of the pyramids of Egypt in the sky. It's like, what the hell is this? It's unbelievable. So I'm jumping up and down. Dad, we saw a UFO. My father looked at it like he was buying lettuce at the supermarket. He looked at it like, no expression, no surprise, nothing whatsoever. And then this is the best part of the story. He looked at me and winked. He goes, let's go home now.
Wow.
Okay? I forgot that story until after my father died. I forgot that had happened. So 2017, he passed away. A couple of days later, I'm at a restaurant, ordered a sandwich, and I'm waiting for my sandwich. And I don't know, divine inspiration, but my book, After They Came into my head and told a whole story. It's about a man who finds out after his dad dies that his father was a UFO researcher and actually had befriended aliens 70 years in the past. So that's where that came from. I just did Alien Con in Pasadena a couple of weekends ago, and I just did UFO Con this last week in San Francisco. So it's really a fun time for me.
So, what are those conferences like nowadays with all this? This is really the first time we've ever seen the media be so blatantly calling things objects in the sky. Like they didn't even use UAP or anything like that. They used like objects for some reason. So, and I don't necessarily trust the regular story and all that, but what are the conferences like now? That I went to UFO Congress in 2013 and it was an interesting year then, but a lot has happened in 10 years.
Well, I've gone to several Alien Con. I live in Beverly Hills, California. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not rich, but I do live in Beverly Hills, California. Alien Con was in Pasadena, so I went the whole weekend and was selling my book there. In recent years, it was much, much, much bigger because pre-COVID, man, that place was packed. Thousands and thousands of people. Why? Giorgio Tsoukalos, right? Ancient Aliens. That's a hit TV show with our crowd, our people that are curious and have open hearts and open minds and are open to extreme possibilities. So in years past, there were many, many thousands. This last time, it was much smaller. People still had masks. Quite a few people still had masks on. Giorgio was there. Eric Von Daniken was there. Nick Pope was there. Paul Hynek was there. George Knapp was there. It was sort of the greatest hits. Jeremy Corbell, Paul Hynek. It was the greatest hits of the ancient alien crowd. And I wasn't able to go to the seminars because I was selling my book at my booth. But one of the talks of the show was the recent, the 3 recent downings that happened over Canada, Alaska, Lake Huron. What I heard was that the premise was that those were possibly alien drones. They were unmanned alien drones, and that's when they were shot down. We all know about the Chinese balloon. It was on front page news, and China. Okay, we know that that's from China. How about the 3 that came the next week, President Biden? How about those? Why don't you tell us the truth about what those were? They never did. They never revealed what they were. They never showed them recovered on television. Everything was like a magician misdirects. Look at this hand. Don't look at this hand. The 3 over Canada, that was don't look at this hand. Look at the China balloon. It was. I believe they were otherworldly crafts, and the talk at the Alien Con was that they were alien drones that were unmanned.
Wow. So aren't people skeptical that they would be able to shoot down an alien drone?
That's such a great question. My theory is that the aliens were like, you know what? Shoot us down. It's okay.
It's just a drone. Yeah.
We're getting closer to disclosure every day, every week. At UFO Con San Francisco this weekend, I met Steve Bassett. Bassett is such an interesting character. But his new hashtag says months, not years. Hashtag months, not years. He's all about disclosure happening, May 15th this year. He's right there. So my theory is that anything that the aliens let us shoot down, they're letting us shoot down for a reason. So perhaps it's just to get us a closer step to disclosure. That's my theory.
And it is weird how they talk about the wreckage being, they're dragging it up from the lake, and then that's all the last thing you hear about it. It's they let these things down over, difficult areas to salvage, and then you don't hear anything about it.
Well, the China balloon, right off the coast of South Carolina, that was on CNN, man. They showed the ship. They showed the ships on CNN. Getting the white balloon and the tech out of the sea, dripping wet. We saw that. So the Yukon or Alaska or Lake Huron can't be that much harder than the Atlantic Ocean, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So I believe we got everything. We know what it is. I thought President Biden was going to have some balls and tell us, you know what, I have to confess, it's time for me to tell you this. But, he might not know. He might not know. The theory in the UFO community is sort of the descendants of the Majestic 12 people, not blood relatives, but Majestic 12. And then the next, each decade after the Cheneys, the Dick Cheneys of the world, they know, they know all things. They've kept it from us all this time. There's reasons why they've kept it from us. The big theory is, people will panic in the streets. Orson Welles' 1938 War of the Worlds broadcast, thousands of people across the country screaming in the streets. The Martians are coming. The Martians are coming. Think about that, how remarkable that is, right? So Roswell happened 47, 9 years later. So Truman goes, well, Orson Welles just did that thing. People were panicking. Truman goes, I can't have people panic in the streets. So Majestic 12. But today the theory is aliens would give us new technology. They would eliminate oil and gas and nuclear energy. They would change the global economy. And the powers that be, the billionaires and the trillionaires, they don't want the aliens to give us the free energy. So.
Was there any talk about Blue Beam at all?
Not that I heard. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Well, that's the false flag. Like that they're going to say it's an invasion, like getting back to the movies and all, like they've been prepping us for sort of like the nasty ETs, and Blue Beam would be some sort of like, a covert military operation that makes it look like we're being visited or invaded. And it could even be a religious, like there's kind of a religious Blue Beam too. It could be like, who knows, apparitions in the sky, whatever kind of 3D holography that they're doing.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know why they would need to do that. Why can't they just tell us the truth?
Yeah, exactly.
Why go to such lengths? They're already here. They've been here for tens of thousands of years. There's so much evidence all over the world. And, Eric von Daniken and Zachariah Sitchin and people back in the 60s were telling us this stuff. Millions of people believe. Millions of people don't believe. My mother always goes, Danny, enough with the alien. It's enough with the alien. My mother thinks I'm batshit fucking crazy. Enough with the aliens, Dan.
And your dad never talked about it at all with you guys?
So he never did. So think about this, right? So when we saw this event and he had no expression and he winked at me, right? So after he died, I thought, my father must have known what that was.
Exactly.
And I'm serious. Seriously, I had a light bulb. A light bulb went off over at this deli. I'm waiting for my sandwich. And a light bulb. And I had this story. What if this man goes through life and he discovers his father was a major UFO guy decades in the past and befriended aliens? That's the premise of this book. And my mother, after my dad died, I called my mother and I said, did Dad ever talk about aliens or UFOs at all? And she said when he started work at Fort Monmouth in 1951, this is only 4 years after Roswell, 51. She said they took him deep into the vaults and they showed him something top secret. And they said, you can never tell anyone as long as you live what you saw here today. And my mother said he came home, he was white and like shaking. And he told my mother, I saw something today I can never tell you or anyone about as long as I live. And what could that have been? Really, let's think about this. What could that, nuclear bombs already had happened. Okay. I saw a giant UFO with my father. He looked at it like, I should have used more silver paint on that wing in the back there. I mean, he looked like it was his car. He looked at it like he was watching his car go by. So if my dad was involved in reverse engineering or anything, we'll never know. We'll never know. But after he died and I had that light bulb, I thought, perhaps my father knew more than he ever told anybody.
So what got you interested? If you didn't remember that like detail until after he passed away, what got you interested about 20 years ago? Like what? Because that would have been what, like when was that? Early 2000s? Yeah. Okay.
0304. I was at a mall in LA. I was waiting for a girlfriend at the time. We were going to go see a movie. And I was early, so I went to the bookstore downstairs. And for the first time in my life, I saw the paranormal books aisle. There was a huge paranormal books aisle. And aliens, UFOs, crop circles, ghosts, poltergeist, past lives, reincarnation, all these things. And it was another light bulb. I was like, I'm ignorant, man. I'm an ignorant person in life. I don't know about any of these things. These are not things, I studied communications in college. I was a writer in high school. I was a drummer in high school. I was into rock bands. So now 20 years ago, I'm seeing crop circles, which I'd heard of. I didn't really know anything about it. So I bought like this many books, like as many as I could carry. And I read them all. And then I joined MUFON. And I think it was in 07, a couple of years later. So I went to the MUFON LA meetings for years and years. That's where I met Giorgio. I met Giorgio in 07. And he gave the whole ancient aliens theory as he learned from Eric von Däniken. And at the end of that lecture, Graham, I actually went up to Giorgio and I hugged him. And I said, man, you just opened my eyes. Like I can't believe. I now have a different view of the world, thanks to you. And that's true. So since then, more study. Books, documentaries, lectures. In 1996, the second UFO I saw with my son when he was 8 in the high desert in Lancaster, California. My son and my daughter and my ex-wife moved there after my divorce. So my son and I were looking at the sky with his new telescope. He was a little boy. Now he's 35, so he was 8 at the time. And we saw in the far right-hand corner of the sky, it was like an egg-shaped light. I'd say an egg-shaped light, off white, off yellow color. And it flew very slowly, but very steadily all the way across the entire sky in a straight line. And I thought it was a satellite. I'm like, that has to be a satellite. What else could that be? Then it stopped for maybe 20, 30 seconds. At the left side of the sky, it stopped. And then it reversed course and it went all the way back where it just come from in the same line. And I was jumping, oh my God, where's the TV news when you need the TV news? Where's the camera? This is before even cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone. So that's the second one I saw. third one I saw was 2008. Do you know James Gilliland?
Yep. The ranch. Yep.
Gilliland Ranch, is that the Eseti Ranch?
Eseti Ranch. That's exactly right. So in 08, he gave a lecture at MUFON LA, and he said, hey, July 4th weekend, come up to my ranch. I'm going to have a UFO weekend. So my girlfriend at the time and I spent the weekend up at his ranch. And I remember William Henry spoke. They talked about orbs. They talked about ancient Egypt. They showed movies during the day. And then at night, it's at the base of Mount Adams. You probably, if you've been there.
I haven't been
in Washington or Oregon?
It's Washington State, and it's at the base of Mount Adams. Apparently, it used to be it was an Indian reservation for hundreds of years. The Indians used to live there. At night, there were about maybe 200-300 people. So at night, they would build a bonfire and sing songs and play guitars and tambourines and dance around the fire. Friday night, we all danced around and sang and danced. Nothing happened in the sky. Saturday night, sang and danced. Nothing happened in the sky. Sunday night, nothing's happening. I said to my girlfriend, I go, you know what? Let's leave early. We'll beat the traffic. Let's go. It's nothing's happening. As I said, like 2 seconds after I said that, a giant thing. I can't even describe it. Maybe a teardrop shape, but it was bright emerald green, dark emerald green color. Very bright. So the light was backed by a large black thing. It showed up over us, spinning around, and then it flashed its lights on and off 3 or 4 times directly above us, as if to say, hello, we're here. We see you. We're here. We know you're there. Hope you're doing okay. Happy 4th of July. And then, man, it took off. It vanished. Gone. So I started crying. People literally were crying. We were hugging, kissing.
Wow.
Oh, man, we saw this thing. That was in 08. Those were my 3 UFOs that I saw with my own eyes.
Which one was your favorite?
I got to go with my dad because my dad's was remarkable. It was daylight. It was huge. It was so obvious. And the fact that he knew what this thing was, I believe that one was military. In retrospect, Graham, I think that one was military. I really do. The other 2, I think, were not from this world.
What's your take on crop circles?
I've just read about it, seen some documentaries. I believe they're giving us messages in code, and we're not advanced enough to figure out what they're trying to tell us. It could be the cure for cancer. It could be the cure for cancer. These are incredible designs and details. And they say, oh, it's men with planks. These are not men with planks. If you've seen some of these things, we couldn't make these. Today, our scientists couldn't make most of them. Not men with planks. I think it's signs that, hey, schmucky humans, schmuckos, we're here. We've been here. We're trying to reach you. And here's some messages. But I don't think we're smart enough to figure out what they are.
Or maybe not open enough yet, or accepting enough, maybe, I'm sure some people could figure it out. I mean, downloads, all these things happen, like even just your book, you mentioned it. I mean, I was talking to somebody today that sort of has these downloads too. Like, it happens a lot now. So, I mean, sure, somebody could sort of figure out what these things are if they open themselves up to it.
I believe that. I met some really wonderful people this last weekend at UFO Con. And several of them, and I don't believe that they're lying, okay? Don't believe they're lying. But several of the people I met swear they've been abducted multiple times. This one guy has been abducted since the age of 2 by the Pleiadian. They're tall, white, beautiful Nordic aliens. He said they're just stunningly beautiful. He knows this one woman. She calls herself Maya. Mm-hmm. And he said that they taught him how to love and be peaceful and harmony with the world. There's a lady there I met, Ella Labane. You should have her on there. She's incredible. Ella Labane. She told me she's met the Messiah in Israel. She met the Messiah as a visionary creature from the future. He came to her and said, hello, I'm Yeshua. I'm the Messiah. I'm here to help you. She had a heart attack. Yeshua showed up at her hospital bed, helped her live through a major heart attack. She's met people. There's a guy named Don Kane who's been abducted since the age of 2.
Is Yeshua the same as Yahweh?
Yeshua is Hebrew. Believe it or not, it's Hebrew for Jesus. How's that? That's pretty cool. He told Ella, my name is Yeshua. Yeshua in the Hebrew Bible, it is what later became Jesus.
Is Yahweh the older name for that same thing, I think?
I'm Jewish. When I grew up, I read Hebrew. Yahweh or Adonai or Jehovah. These are the names of God in Hebrew. But I'd never heard of Yeshua until I met Ella the other day. She told me Yeshua was the Messiah, and she knows him. And I thought, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard, right? Wouldn't that be great? She said, Dan, if you call out to Yeshua when you have a problem, maybe he'll help you. I go, that'd be great. I hope so. Maybe he can pay my income tax bill for me or something.
So have you ever gone out and looked for them at all? Have you ever do these CE5s? Or we go out sometimes in Calgary. Well, we used to. I don't go out as much anymore, but and we saw it, like your egg-shaped light. It reminded me of one of those that we call it like a low flyer. We saw a light come through silent, just slowly across the whole sky, similar to what you said. Right. And not like too high up. Like you couldn't see craft shape, but you could see that it wasn't a plane, it wasn't a drone making noise. It was super silent, and it was within airspace. Like it was close enough that it wasn't like satellite or a star. And I mean, we saw a bunch of them, and we'd go out and as a group and kind of meditate with love in our hearts and good intentions, and we had some pretty good successes.
That's excellent.
Me, just for the record.
We as in me and a group. Yeah, Darren hasn't gone yet, but
I was forbidden to go.
Darren, you got to get your ass out.
Which brings up a question I need to ask you, because obviously you've been to Eseti Ranch. I've heard some rumors, and
right.
The rumor is that there's no cannabis law. Is that true?
This was in 2008. To be honest, I think people were smoking weed when I was there. Okay,
yeah, that might have been before the rule, Darren. I don't know.
Actually, Darren, it wasn't called Eseti. It was called the James Gilliland Ranch. It's before it became, maybe with Eseti, I don't know if he has new financial partners. But I'm pretty sure there was weed. I haven't smoked weed since high school, but that's a whole nother story. Graham, so the light that you saw that was low, did it stop and then reverse course?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, but it went all the way by, and then another one came by. I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 hours later, almost to that time again, and it came by in a similar, not in the exact same spot, but in a similar spot. We saw it twice that night.
That's very cool. Well, the one I saw,
it seemed like a scout. It seemed like in a way like a scout thing or something,
The one I saw, we said, the egg shape. It was pretty high up, and it was very bright, and it was moving steadily. I thought it was a satellite, or a comet, a meteor, or an asteroid, because I said out loud, okay, it has to be one of those things. And the way it traveled, I'm like, cool, this is cool. I'm telling my son, this is so cool. Then it stopped, and when it stopped, I'm like, oh, I wonder why. What could stop? Really, think about that. What can stop in the sky that high and that far? And then it reversed course and went back the same exact path they had just taken. And I said, well, there's nothing man-made that can do that. And it's not an asteroid, because an asteroid isn't going to reverse course. So,
do you still think there's nothing man-made that can do that? Like, has your view changed at all from the ETH to, like, especially with your dad maybe working on these things for 40 years? I mean, have you thought about, like, who's flying around those big black triangles? Like, those aren't all ET.
Is ETH the
extraterrestrial hypothesis? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, honestly, I'm guessing about my father.
I know, but
I believe,
I guess that must have put you in a mind frame to think about the government working on tech, I guess is what I meant by that.
I think, Bob Lazar, Area 51, guy's a hero. his life's been threatened. He's been telling us for years and years. He worked there. He reverse engineered real UFOs. They're real. They're here. Bigelow, a few years ago, said, we have technology from aliens. I think it was on 60 Minutes. I think the triangle, I think the big, ugly metal thing, because men aren't that creative, I think the big, giant, abhorrently ugly things are military, I think the emerald green light that I saw at Eseti, it was so beautiful. I think it was so beautiful. I don't think men would have made that one, So I do believe.
And also the emotions that people had. Like, that seems like it happened for a greater reason than just the physical sighting of it. Like, I feel like you guys all wouldn't have sort of cried and hugged if it was a military craft.
Exactly. That's exactly right. There was an emotional component. It would be like if E.T., it would be like if E.T., the alien, rang your doorbell, said, hello, my name is Bill. I'm from planet, Barg, and I just wanted to say hello, and here I am. Oh, how you doing? That's like the green UFO with flashing light on and off. It was saying hello to us, and people started to cry. I had tears in my eyes. Yeah, that wasn't military. There's no way.
Do you have groups in your area, like CE5 groups at all, or have you ever tried that, CSETI?
There are groups here. I just joined the LA UFO group. It's called the LA UFO meetup group. I just joined. I'm going to do a talk with them in late April. I'll tell you the truth. I'm a Hollywood publicist. I've been a publicist for 40 years. I have my own company. I work hard. I've had hundreds of clients. I've met every famous celebrity almost you could think of. I've supported children. I supported my ex-wife. I've made a lot of money. I've spent a lot of money. So I don't have that much time to go out and look. But now that I'm about to turn 67, I need to start slowing down and looking up instead of at my phone. I need to start looking up more,
Yeah, there you go, man. That'd be great. Look up your local CE5 group or whatever and head out with them and get some real sightings happening.
Do you know Earl Grey Anderson?
I think I've heard the name, but I'm not sure.
So I met him in Alien Con. He is resurrecting MUFON Los Angeles. MUFON LA has been gone for about 4 years.
Wow.
So he's bringing it back in April. Very nice guy. Between Alien Con and UFO Con, I met a lot of people who are really hardcore into this field. I've been selling my book, but I've also I gave my book to Nick Pope. I gave my book to Eric Von Daniken. I gave it to Giorgio. I gave it to Paul Hynek and George Knapp. I'm trying to promote my book. In addition to sell it, I'm also, I'm like, hi, I'm new to your world, George Knapp, but if you read my book, maybe you'll have me on Coast to Coast. That's what I've been up to. But I love what you said. I got to get my ass outdoors more often. You're absolutely correct.
Well, I get the sense that there's a lot of people. There's probably a lot of groups in your area. There's a lot of people that are probably into this. We only have one group in Calgary that's kind of fledgling now. I mean, there was, quite a few of us out there, maybe 10 or 20 at one point checking it out. But
what was interesting at Alien Con, a lot of the people that came to me at my booth to talk to me were either military or like my dad, engineers with the military. A lot of these guys, and they were like, we did a lot of weird stuff and we can't talk about it. But, this subject has always interested me and I wish we knew more. And, I found that interesting that military and engineers are just as interested in this as Jane Smith from Wisconsin.
Well, I have a bit of a theory going about these objects, the three that we talked about that were shot down in Canada and the US that will be used to get ahead of this new energy technology kind of stuff, we shot those things down and we've sort of taken a look and it's there's an exotic technology, we don't know who made it, and it's not safe, and we got to protect the world from any new technology. Like I have a sense that they're going to be trying to get ahead of the outpouring of new technology with these.
I think our government gives Russia and China too much credit. Okay, China did an amazing balloon. It was probably the most amazing balloon in history. Okay, absolutely incredible balloon. China made the balloon. Everyone knows China made the balloon. The other three things, well, they were probably also China balloons. No, why would you say that? Because one happened, so the other three they're not. Apples and oranges, completely separate things. And they know, they got them, man. They got them. They know what they are. They don't want to tell us. We're not ready. Apparently, we're not ready yet.
But we are ready. I mean, see, this is why would they tease it like that? They teased it. They're like, hey, we shot down an object, not a plane, not a drone, not a balloon, is an object.
And we don't know what it is.
And yet we're not ready. Like, why are you telling us that then? Why are you letting that out in the headlines?
Well, I'm not saying we're not ready. I believe we are ready.
Yeah. No, I know. But in their eyes, yeah.
The Majestic 12, and if it's Biden, the Pentagon guys, if Dick Cheney is still even alive, Did you ever hear the radio interview, Graham, when Dick Cheney was on the radio years ago? He was VP, and someone called in and said, "Mr. Vice President, can you tell us about aliens and UFOs?" And he goes, "Do you think I would tell you?" He's on live on the air. He goes, "Do you think I would tell you?" He didn't say it's nonsense, it's bullshit, there's no such thing. He goes, "Oh, I think he said, do you think if I knew I would tell you?" That's what he said. He knows. George Bush Sr., head of the CIA, he knew. Reagan knew. I think the more modern presidents have not been told. People at UFO Con said Reagan knew. Reagan knew quite well. Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Gorbachev apparently made a pact that the three of them wouldn't tell anybody.
Wow. Well, I mean, it is a chance to get a hold of to bring us all together as well. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's why I was so shocked when Bassett was so upset when Hillary didn't win. I was like, wow, he's so upset. I didn't realize how politically was, but he was furious because he really thought Hillary was going to disclose this to everybody. And I think there is a strategy there that's like, hey, we can bring the world together by disclosing this,
I think whoever the president is that discloses will be a hero. You've probably seen Obama and Clinton on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, aliens, UFOs, and Obama kind of and turned his head. And Clinton goes, I tried, man. I tried for years that they wouldn't tell me. They wouldn't tell me. He's the president of the United States.
Well, Carter had his own sighting too, right?
Carter had a sighting that was famous. Reagan saw two. Reagan was very much into it. Here's a good story. I don't know if you've heard this one. And I should have asked him when I met him. I met Steven Spielberg in 2010 at a Hollywood event I was working at. And the story goes, when he showed the movie E.T. at the White House for President Reagan. This is the story. And if I could go back and re-meet Stephen, I would ask him this question. And according to the story, Reagan said to Stephen after he saw E.T., "Stephen, you have no idea how real this stuff is." Something like that. He just saw E.T. Reagan told Spielberg. And that's just such a wonderful story. I hope that was true.
I do. I remember hearing that many years ago. Yeah. I kind of slowed down a little bit on looking because I was like, I don't know what we're making contact with. And I started to get a bit skeptical with trying to make contact with any kind of thing, any kind of being, anything. And I read a couple books that were kind of saying why aren't they helping us already? Your book is talking about them coming to help us. I'm like, why aren't they doing that already then? We're in trouble here. Come and help us. But they expect this sort of grassroots movement across the world to create an open belief system enough that, everybody will, resonate enough that they can come now. I mean, I don't know. I kind of reached the stage where I was like, okay, like, we've made contact. I felt like we made enough contact with something. Why aren't you coming to help us?
Ancient alien theory is that they've been here for tens of thousands of years. I believe that to be a fact. It explains the pyramids. It explains cities that are under the oceans that were washed away, 50, 100,000 years ago. Our ancestors were cavemen with sticks and twigs and berries. Our caveman ancestors didn't build cities that are underneath Japan from 65, 70,000 years ago. I don't think our human beings built the pyramid. My mother goes, they had ropes and pulleys. They had ropes. Oh, Mom, they had ropes and pulleys. That's how they did the pyramid. Each block is like 32 tons. They had ropes and pulleys. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. There's many different apparently, I don't know this, but there's many different races. Some are benevolent, some are kind, some are like scientists, some are like ET. They just want to study and leave us alone. The guy next to me at UFOCon is with a group, and they believe that they're dangerous and they're going to take over.
Wow.
And they're malevolent, and they're just going to brainwash us and herd us like cattle and take over. And this guy was dead. I forget the name of his group, but he was dead serious. And I was right next to him. I'm selling my book. Hi, my book has happy aliens, and they come and they eliminate nuclear weapons and they cure cancer. Isn't it great? And people are buying my book. And then this guy, oh man, they're gonna kill us. They're gonna kill all of us. They're gonna eat us. They're gonna pick our brains. They're gonna study us. They're here. They're not nice. They're not kind. And so at one point I said, look, man, I hope I'm not bumming you out with my benevolent book. He goes, dude, believe you can believe what you want to believe, but I know my stuff is real. So who knows? Who knows what's real anymore?
We had a great chat with Samuel Chong. Is that his name, Darren? Samuel Chong. And
yep.
he helped bring this book about a guy who was abducted for 10 days. Apparently, he was a French guy from France, and the story seemed really for an abduction story like that. And he helped bring this book to China and Taiwan. I think he helped translate it or bring it to those countries, and it's quite popular there now. But it really resonated with just common sense kind of stuff, like this is kind of what an alien guide would be saying to somebody who they abducted and all that. And they talked about nuclear war and how they said that every planet or every evolution goes through this phase. Like it always comes about where they learn how to split the atom, or they learn how to make these atomic energies and weapons. And it's like a phase that we have to kind of get through.
Well, the theories are that since 1947, Roswell, and since then, they've been coming more often. Why? Well, we dropped 2 atomic bombs in 45. Kenneth Arnold saw the UFOs June 47. Roswell was July 47. So, and now, with digital cameras and technology, there's so many videos, man. I mean, there's so many photos. If 3/4 of these are man-made, there's still a quarter that are literally out of this world. They're just from elsewhere. I recently became friends with Kathleen Martin. Do you know Kathleen?
Yep.
Over the email. She gave me a very nice quote from my book. And I think the Betty and Barney Hill story, her aunt and uncle, I've read that book with Stanton Friedman and Kathleen. I've read that book 3 times. I'm like, wow, man, they did not make this up. They had nightmares for years and years. They were a black and white couple at that time. They didn't want to call attention to themselves. He was a postman. He wasn't like trying to get on the cover of People magazine. They wanted to live their lives. They were abducted.
I mean that's the feeling I get from a lot of contactees and abductees. I mean, a lot of them are reluctant to bring it out. A lot of them, it takes some of them a long time before they decide to put themselves out there.
Right. And that on its face, if they're not seeking publicity or money or fame, but like, again, I met a lot of people at UFOCon who tell me they've been abducted at least 5, most of their lives, they've been abducted. And they're a little bit hesitant, but once they embrace the phenomenon and the fact that they're special and that they have something to share with others, and these people are all 50 to 65 years old, the people I met. It took them a long time to be able to tell the world, I know this sounds a little bit off, but these things happened to me, and I'm going to tell you my story, and hopefully you'll believe me.
Yeah. Are you going to Contact in the Desert at all?
I'm thinking about that one. If I had more money, there's so many.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the Stephen Greer one?
No, that's no, I don't know who. I think it's actually just Contacted the Desert. It's quite a large one. It's only 3 days this year, I think, but there's a shit ton of people speaking there. I was actually going to volunteer. There was some volunteer spots open. You could fill out these applications to volunteer, and I thought, should I go down there and do that?
You should. That'd be great
for the show. And
that would be great.
That would be good for the 10-year reunion of Grimerica.
Oh, that's
you went
right.
down to the first year. You went down and hung out. You were a volunteer.
I volunteered at the Congress. That would be good for my resume.
You burned holidays. Yeah, you burned holidays to that back when you had a day job.
That would be excellent. You should do. I'm a publicist, man. You should do that.
Yeah.
So I met Steve Bassett the other night, Saturday night, and I gave him my book. And as he was eating dinner with friends, I didn't want to bother him. I said, Stephen, I have a book. I'd love for you to read it. And as I was walking away, I said, by the way, I'm a Hollywood publicist for profession. He goes, Graham, you're a Hollywood publicist? Really? You are? He digs in his pants. He pulled out a handful of business cards. He goes, please call me. Please call me. He threw business cards at me. He goes, you got to call me. I got to work with you. You got to. So Steve Bassett, I'm going to call him tomorrow. He's going to be my new best friend, that guy.
Months, not years. # months, not years.
Months, not years. And you know the story of Travis Walton. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, I met him at the 2013 thing. He was there, yeah.
And Travis Walton is a guy from
Fire in the
Sky, which is from Close Encounters or whatever.
No, it was just his own abduction story that got made into a movie that didn't really do it justice, man.
Right. So for my book, Graham, last fall, getting ready to promote it, I reached out to a number of people to get advanced quotes on my book. I got Nick Pope, Richard Dolan, Lynn Katai, Chase Klutsky, and I got Travis Walton. They're on the back of the book. I also got Kathleen Martin the other day. But Travis, this is the best thing I got. He goes, Dan Harari's book could serve as the basis of an entertaining film adaptation, which I can't say the word, but Travis wants me to make my book into a movie. How great would that be? I should call my friend Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so where are these aliens from in your book? Tell us a bit more about your book.
Okay. So the book starts out, it's the story of a man who's turning 70. His 70th birthday is here. He hates his life. He's miserable. He's depressed. He lost track with his kids. His business is a failure. He just hates his life. He wants it to be over. So he goes to Malibu, takes off his clothes, drinks vodka, takes pills, goes out to the Pacific Ocean on his 70th birthday, swims out to sea, and drowns. Okay, that's the opening. That's the first chapter of my book. The man is drowning, and he's very happy to be drowning. As he's drowning, a huge, enormous UFO comes out of the Pacific, right where he was, right over him, beams him on board, and then slowly flies over Los Angeles to Dodger Stadium. Now, it's so huge and big and so obviously not man-made. Police, the fire engines, the ambulances, the media, police, cops, guns, everybody's racing to Dodger Stadium because they want to see what the hell's going on at Dodger Stadium. So this thing stops at Dodger Stadium and it beams down a beautiful, tall, white, Nordic male alien, 7 feet tall, white hair, beautiful, tall, blonde woman, 6 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. And this guy's naked and dripping wet because they just plucked him out of the ocean. They saved his life. So he's like hanging there. And the aliens go, people of the world, do not fear us. We are here to help you. We've been here for tens of thousands of years. We felt now was the time for us to help mankind with your insolvable problems. And here's the one caveat is we will only work through this man. And, the naked guy's hanging there because we have a relationship with him and he's our conduit to mankind. So if you have problems that you need solved, go to this guy. This guy will go to us and we'll help you. And then they leave. Now this poor schlub is on second base at Dodger Stadium naked. And all the media in the world, cameras and microphones and guns and everything. And he's looking up like, what the hell just happened to me? All I wanted to do was drown on my birthday. I'm suicidal. That's how the show opens. They pick him up. They put him in an army truck. They fly him to D.C. He meets with the president of the United States. The president, in my book, is basically Oprah Winfrey, black African-American woman in her 70s. She says, his name is Jonathan Tuckerman. She goes, Mr. Tuckerman, who are you? What's going on? Why did aliens save you out of the ocean? What the hell is happening? He goes, Madam President, I don't have the slightest idea. I could not tell you in a million years what just happened to me. I have no idea. So it turns out they believe the aliens are benevolent. They set this guy up at the UN. They give him an office at the UN with a staff. He's reunited with his long-lost son and daughter. And they form Team Tuckerman. Team Tuckerman every month meets with the aliens on the ship above the UN, and they eliminate nuclear weapons, they eliminate disease, they cure famine, they cure a shortage of clean water, they reverse climate change, they provide free energy so we don't need oil and gas. And every month for a year, the aliens do remarkable things. And at the end of that first year, Graham, this guy, the schlub who was killing himself, a year later, he wins the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay? So that's how the story goes. Later in the book, he finds out that his dad had a relationship with one of these aliens and saved the alien's life 70 years earlier before the lead character was even born. So now 70 years later, which is the present, that's why this alien came to save this guy out of the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
that's a big picture of the story.
Yeah. I like it. Are you going to put it into an audiobook at all at some point?
I met a guy at AlienCon who wants to record it for me, and he wants $10,000, and I don't want to spend $10,000. So I'm trying to figure out a barter. If I give him some PR, I'm talking to a guy. Several people ask me if it's audio.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's really. I think it's important these days to get on audio. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, some authors are saying that they gets more traction on audio these days than in paper. So
that's very good advice. I am thinking that's probably going to happen.
Yeah. Darren, do you got any questions?
I got one. If you only had let's say you had 5 minutes to convince a skeptic about the reality of the UFOs and aliens and contacts and all that, what would you refer to? What case or what argument or what would be your go-to?
I would tell them to read Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods, and I would have them read Richard Dolan's book After Disclosure, and I would have them watch an episode of Ancient Aliens when they explain how the pyramids all over the world were built. I would start there. Those two. And Leslie Kean, also the New York Times writer, has a book as well.
Yeah, we had Leslie on a few years ago. She was great. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a major person.
So
Graham, what I have a question. What got you into this UFO world?
In 1990, I was in Israel. I was traveling around Europe and the Middle East as a 20-year-old. I was 19, 20 years old, and I saw a craft on a rooftop hostel in Tel Aviv with a bunch of friends. And I came onto the roof and they were all pointing up at the sky, yelling and screaming, there's a UFO up there. So I ran over to them. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, we saw this thing and it did this 90-degree turn. I'm like, I was so pissed off that I that I didn't see it. I looked up and I said, "Please come back. I want to see you too. Please come back. I want to see you too." And then and then I spotted something. I go, "Is that it? Is that it?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's the same thing." And it was almost like a dodecahedron shape, like a polygonal shape,
Wow.
almost like a dodecahedron split in half, and the halves were rotating against themselves, and the whole thing was spinning on another axis, slowly, quietly going through the sky. And it was about a 20-sided die at arm's length, like size. So it was clearly an object.
Wow.
Clearly flying, with some unknown propulsion system. It seemed like it felt like a satellite because of the weird sort of spin that it had. And they all saw it twice and I saw it once. And yeah, just ever since then, I researched it like crazy in the 90s, in the mid to early 90s. I started going out looking for them, and we didn't see anything on our own looking for them until coming to Calgary here in Alberta, looking in about, I guess, 7-8 years ago, maybe we started to see activity in the sky.
How did you feel emotionally when you saw the one in Israel?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. Yeah, it was very exciting, but I didn't have any fear or bliss or anything like that. It was just excitement,
Have you seen many since then?
Just when we go out looking, mainly. Like, I've seen quite a few going out in our CE5 groups and stuff. A lot of flash bulbs, a lot of huge flash bulbs in the sky.
Wow.
Sometimes to answer a question, like I would say something in the group and it would flash, and we're like, "Whoa!" Everybody would be like, "Ah!"
That's so cool. That's great. Darren, how about you, man? Have you seen some?
I've seen a lot of stuff in the sky that I don't know if it's UFOs. I have seen the one I have seen that was probably like UFOs, kind of like what you were talking about, where it was, we thought it was a satellite and the sun was shining off it. We were like, pointed it out and talking about the fact that it was a satellite. And then after it got about 3/4 or 2/3 of the way across from where we've probably seen it when it was straight above us. And when it got to about halfway between there and the horizon, it kind of took off to the north, which would have been a left turn for it. It's like took off and disappeared.
I think if more people had at least one profound experience, like you and I have had, like my mother. Okay, she's 88. She's never gonna believe. Okay, she's a child of the Depression, a child of World War II. Right? They were happy that we weren't bomb. There was no Russia didn't bomb America in the 50s. Okay, so she's heard that tear. Even me, I'm almost 67. I think my daughter is 33, and her friends, they know this stuff is real. It's generational.
Yeah.
Our ancestors, they didn't learn this in school or religious class or from their parents. They learned how to survive. My parents were poor. They had to survive. So I think people that have these profound experiences, like I've had 3, you've had several, I think it opens your heart and your mind to extreme possibilities.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things we surprised us when we started the show like 10 years ago was how many people wanted to tell their stories. Like it was a platform for people to tell their stories. So we'd get people emailing their sightings in and talking about sightings and just be open about like hearing people's stories. And yeah, people just wanted to be heard,
Right. Well, you're a legitimate media outlet, and CNN isn't going to have me on talking about my book. That's why I'm befriending people like you. I've done podcasts across the U.S. and UK and Australia in the last month. And I'm very grateful for people like you that give people like me a platform. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's great. It's great to meet people of like minds and get everybody's views. My views sort of changed over the years, back and forth a little bit. And like, even with my sighting, I don't know. Like, I don't even know I don't know what it is. It seems more logical that it would be ET because it's such a weird shape and a weird thing. But I don't know. Like, I still don't know. I still don't even really have a strong opinion about it.
You've seen the video, I'm sure, of the light that goes over Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And it stays there, and then it flashes up straight. Okay, so that what is that really? What is that thing? I mean, is that man-made? That's not man-made. Whatever that was, it was like, hey, this is important. Jerusalem is important.
Yeah. Wasn't that right at the Dome of the Rock too? I mean,
correct.
I mean, and it was taken from different angles. There was different cameras that saw it. I mean, this wasn't just
right.
Yeah, I know. I kind of gave up hope that any video or any picture was going to be good enough. Like even in the 90s, I remember people would say you can't prove a picture's real. You can only prove it's fake. So you kind of get stuck to a spot where you could say, oh yeah, that one's fake. But if you can't prove it's fake, you still can't prove it's real. So I kind of lost sort of like hope with any kind of disclosure over that. It just has to be like an acceptance of the plethora of sightings that people, it's just an amount of evidence that's so overwhelming that people just finally start coming around to it.
Right. The other day, Ella Labane, again, you should look into her. She says Israel is a portal. She feels that Israel is a portal. She saw all kinds of things in Israel when she lived there. And that might explain the light over the Dome of the Rock, if it's a portal.
Well, and my sighting too. And the only other sighting like mine that I saw after all the research I did in the 90s was a lady on Sightings in Israel that saw the same thing I saw. So I don't know.
Do you have the link to the app?
No, I should try and find it. That would be cool.
That would be something.
Because I don't know if I don't even know if it was the same
we could
time.
do like a live review.
Yeah. I should try and find it.
That's cool. Last week I was in the Daily Mail newspaper in the UK. A big article about me and my book and my father and my experience in 1970. So the other day I got an email from someone in New Jersey who said, "Hey Dan, you're not going to believe this. My three older siblings saw the same silver V that you and your father saw in 1970. He was a couple of towns over." And he said, my siblings, their whole lives, thought maybe they were losing their minds until they read my article. And they said it's the only validation in their whole lives since 1970 that sighting really happened. I thought that was really cool.
That's fantastic. I know I've been trying to get a hold of for all these years. Oh, I'm not still trying, but I tried many times to get a hold of. This is a call out to David Miller, the English bloke that I saw this with, that I have not talked to since 1990, and I'd love to chat with him about it.
Oh, you got to track him down.
I tried, but there's a million David Millers. It's probably the most common English name.
Yeah. God forbid it could be David Rabinowitz or something easier.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fun chat. Is there anything we left not talked about? Or
this is great. If your people could check out my book After They Came, Dan Harari, Harary. It's on Amazon. It's Kindle or print. And more about me and my life is Dan Harari Author, danharariauthor.com.
Okay, I'll put links to all that in the show notes too.
Okay, and I also wrote a book last year called Flirting with Fame. It's about my 50 years in Hollywood, and I worked with Bruce Springsteen in 1973. I was 16. That's before he was famous. Graham, I got stories. I got all kinds of stories.
Anything stand out? What's your favorite celeb story?
Here's probably the best story ever. 1973, my best friend and I worked with Bruce Springsteen and his band. And remember Clarence Clemens, his sax player?
Not really, but okay.
Bruce had a sax player, Clarence, very famous. He passed away a few years ago. So this is 2 years before Born to Run. 2 years before Born to Run, which made Bruce famous. Clarence asked my best friend and I if we wanted to go on the road as the roadies for Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. It's 1973. I go, Clarence, we're only 16 years old. We don't drive yet. And I'm pretty sure our fathers want us to go to college. And then he goes, okay, man. And then I went to college and Bruce became Bruce Springsteen. There you go.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Okay, let me know when
Okay.
this airs, all right?
Okay, we'll do. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we'll
Thanks,
see you.
Dan. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Darren. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Bye.
Now our chat with Dan Harari. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, that was fun. That was good. Yeah.
So yeah,
A good old UFO app. It's been a while.
good old UFO.
You-
Hopefully,
what were you gonna say?
Restream held up because the
Restream.
what's it called? StreamYard.
StreamYard, yeah.
Well, the SD card just ain't working. I couldn't pull anything off of it last night, and I forgot. And then now today it wouldn't let me record. It just isn't picking it up. Good thing you have backup.
Good thing you have backup on
The
StreamYard.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the shows that we did before.
Oh boy.
That you've
Yeah.
been recording on Zoom. You
Yeah,
uploaded
yeah.
them already.
Well, I uploaded the ones that I knew you would use. So we're
Uploaded
still
them all
recording,
now.
right? Are we still recording?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Bingo.
Yeah,
Inside
yeah.
baseball.
Little.
That was a chat with Dan Harari. What'd you think, buddy?
Oh yeah, it was good. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should think about that UFO thing. I don't know. We'll see. It's just a pain travel. It's just a bit of a pain traveling these days. It's just not like it used to be. I used to travel so much. Oh my God.
The one you seen was a UFO.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
I was interesting one. I like it. I mean, I was kind of hoping that he'd have more of an argument instead of just like referring someone to read books. So like they're not going to read books. It's not. Unless you compel them in that 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's trying to show you like who's done the best research and all that, you know.
I get it.
Yeah.
Trying to show off the shoulders of the giants he's been standing.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, big thanks to Dan for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you're one of the 1% that chooses to support our work over here over at Grimericans.ca/support. We are doing our best to try and make the show go, make the show grow, and taking a run at doing it full time. So we can't do it without you guys. We need your help. Grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for monthly, make a one-time donation. In the meantime, you got links on everything we do at Grimerica.ca, from the trips at contact@thecabin.com to the books at adultbrain.ca. Everything in between. I don't know. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week.
Oh, the rain came down, my wallet got soaked, the money ran out. Oh, the mud was gold, the ground was cold, my dignity was never bought nor sold. Oh, choose a career, get your mind clear, keep up with the Joneses. Oh, you go in, you atone for your greed. You atone for your greed with the electric messiah. But that's just your publicity stunt. I can see your duplicity in front of your lines. Oh, the rain came down, my wallet got soaked, the money ran out. Oh, the ground was cold, the mud was gold, my dignity was never bought nor sold. Oh, choose a career, get your mind clear, keep up with the Joneses. Oh, you go in, you atone for your greed. You atone for your greed with the electric messiah. Oh, but that's just your publicity stunt. I can see your duplicity in front of your lines. Oh, the rain came down, my wallet